Okay, folks, this here is a head scratcher if I've ever seen one. It's crazy the way this works. And if you're an honest man, you should have questions by the end of this.
Okay, seeing if a vacuum chamber weighs less with no air in it. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Look at it just start dropping in weight. We're at half an atmosphere, it's already lost 24 grams.
We're going to chart this, so let's keep track. He starts off with ambient conditions and he pulls his vacuum down to half an atmosphere and he loses 24 grams. So remember that number.
So you notice right off the bat it loses most of the weight, but now it's slowing down. We're at 0.2 atmospheres. Okay, we're at 0.1 atmospheres. We've lost 25 grams. Okay, so we're at a full vacuum now, and it stayed at minus 25 grams.
Okay, let's take note. So from half an atmosphere down to the strongest vacuum he could pull, he achieved 1 more gram. So he pulled out 25 grams total. Now he's going to zero his scale and start adding pressure and weighing that.
Okay, increasing pressure. 3, 2, 1. Two atmospheres. 3 atmospheres.
So he zeroes his scale, starting off at ambient conditions or 1 atmosphere. He increases the pressure to 2 atmosphere and gains 8 grams. He then goes on to increase the pressure to 3 atmosphere, and it's still 8 grams so far total additional weight.
10-gram increase. 12 grams, 15. So it's increased 14 grams. It's at 3.5 atmospheres, 15 grams.
Okay, so keeping track, he added another half an atmosphere, putting him up to 3.5 atmospheres, and it added 15 grams total. So we're going to take all this information, put it on a chart, and going from the way we were taught, we're going to see what we can glean from this. And by what we are taught, I mean that gas is particles, and when we pull a vacuum, we're achieving the fewest amount of particles as possible. Okay, these are just the totals. So starting at 0 to half an atmosphere, added 1 gram of weight, and then he added enough particles to make it 25 grams of total weight. And basically from 0 atmospheres to 3.5 atmospheres, he added a total of 40 grams of weight. So what are some conclusions we can make looking at these numbers? Now we know the numbers are not exact, but we can say that each half an atmosphere has to be a different amount of particles. So let's take a closer look at the numbers and the gaps and see what else we can come up with. So based on his demonstration, at ambient conditions, under 1 atmosphere of pressure, normal conditions that is, there are 25 grams of air in the chamber. So it would seem fair to say that whether pumping air in or out, the biggest weight change is going to come right in the beginning. And if that is the case, if we pull a vacuum and then zero our scales, when we let in our first half atmosphere of pressure is when we'll get a 24 gram jump instead of the second half atmosphere getting the 24 gram increase. And that would all make sense. But when he was pumping the air in, from 1 atmosphere to 2 atmospheres, it jumped up a good bit, 8 grams. But then between 2 atmospheres to 2.5, and then 2.5 to 3, it didn't change at all. And then from 3 atmospheres to 3.5 atmospheres, it went up another 7 grams. So that's out the door. I feel like we're missing something here because what are we supposed to conclude? That some air weighs and some air doesn't? Like, that's ridiculous. If I pumped in different air between 2 and 3 atmospheres, would that air weigh the 7 grams and the next half atmosphere weigh nothing? I don't believe that for a second. Now, I would say that a gram is not a lot of weight, but When you're talking about scales like this that can measure to the 100th of a gram, that's a lot. So I'd say either he's got the world's shittiest set of scales, or the world's shittiest gauge, or that there's no way to weigh this air consistently. Now, if I just seen the beginning of this, I could conclude that, yeah, maybe air is particles, and when he was evacuating in the first test, that sometimes it was catching particles and sometimes it wasn't. But then the same thing happened when he was adding air. It was totally inconsistent. So that leads me to the conclusion that air is not particles. It's like a stretchy, ethereal type of material, not particles. Either that and or some air has weight and some air doesn't. As unlikely and counterintuitive as that sounds, it's worth some further testing. The most likely conclusion is that his scales were sticking or the gauge was sticking. Any way you stack it, there are some interesting phenomenon with gas and issues with this model that they use with the particles and whatnot.
Pika pika boo, can goo. Sneaky leaky new, gamma scammer scamming you. Ooh, pika pika boo, scammer gamma clover new. Sneaky leaky proof, 180 miles zoo. Ooh, peekaboo, Mount Canada. The sun got close, your silhouette grew. Peekaboo, Mount Canada. There is no hump obstructing our view. Behold the flat earth, take a moment to revel. There's no such thing as refraction on a schedule. The creamy Canada, great aside to the Brindus, done to that tit to black. The mountain skies is next to crew. Go Vista Leisure's denied to bowl. Poor Canada, don't be afraid. You'll be seen hundreds of miles away. Poor Canada, come out and play. Tomorrow's 5-kilometer refraction day. Pika pika boo, can goo. Sneaky leaky proof, 180 miles zoo. Ooh, pika pika boo, global Panacamera 2. Panacamera 2, can goo. Ooh, global seeking you, scammer fana 2. Seeking you, ran a scam on you. Ooh, pika boo, can goo. Sneaky leaky new, gamma scammer scamming you. Ooh, pika boo, scammer gamma global new. Sneaky leaky proof, 180 miles zoo. Ooh.
Stay me tight.